Hi, it's Andy here at Photech Video, and in this video I'm going to tell you why I chose the DJI Osmo Action 3 and not the new DJI Osmo Action 4 to be my behind-the-scenes studio camera. Well, you may remember a few weeks ago I uploaded a video where I analyzed a series of requirements which I had for my behind-the-scenes studio camera, and I whittled those options down to the Osmo Action 3 because on paper it ticked all the boxes which I had. This video is not sponsored by DJI, it's not sponsored by Boya, and it's not sponsored by Small Rig, even though I will mention products of those three brands during this video. So I must say that it wasn't easy to find a supplier who had an Osmo Action 3. Eventually, after a week, I found one. The camera arrived, I bought the Adventure Combo Edition, as you can see here, which comes with a series of extras. It is a bit more expensive, but I think it was worth that extra difference. One of the great things about the Adventure Combo is that it comes with 3 batteries inside a small charging case. Now, as you can see, the lights have come on here. They're on an orange amber color, which means that they're not fully charged, but they're not discharged yet. 2 things to bear in mind with this case. Number 1, you can charge external devices with a USB-C cable here, for example, your mobile phone. The other thing to remember is that to be able to do that, the batteries inside need to be charged, because this case is not like some headphones, some buds, where there is an internal battery which charges the buds. This case does not have an internal battery. So you keep your batteries in this case, and then when they need charging, you just plug them in with the USB-C, and you can either charge this case from a USB plugged into the wall, for example, or from an external battery as well. The case also has, I don't know if you can see up here, the case also has space to keep 2 extra micro SD cards, which is useful as well. Another great accessory which comes with the Adventure Combo is this selfie stick. Now, I'm not a great selfie stick fan myself, but I must say this is a pretty good piece of kit. It's very small, as you can see. I have here on top one of the magnetic attachments for the Osmo 3. If we start to extend it, we can see that it is surprisingly long. I think it has 7 or even 8 different sections here, and we're looking at a 1.5 meter pole. So this is pretty impressive and pretty useful piece of kit, which can be kept in your pocket if necessary. So again, a great added accessory which comes with the Adventure Combo. If this is the kind of content that you like, then please click on the like button, consider subscribing to my channel, and hit that notifications bell to be informed when a new video drops on my channel. Now, what were the other reasons that I chose the Action 3 to be my behind-the-scenes studio camera? Well, I was looking for a camera which had, number 1, quality video and quality audio. Now, the DJI Osmo Action 3 is capable of recording 4K up to 120 frames per second, which is something which I don't need for my studio, but something which I may use on an occasion when I'm outside the studio. However, 4K video is important for me. Even though I upload my videos to my YouTube channel in 1080p, I do like to record in 4K to be able to zoom in the edit without losing any quality. At this moment, I'm recording on 4K at 24 frames per second. Another great feature of the camera, and something that for me was really important, is that the camera accepts third-party external microphones. Now, This is really important. I have a number of microphones. My favorite, and the one which I'm using right this moment, is the Relicart Me Passport, I believe it's called. It has 2 transmitters and 1 receiver, and this is simply plugged in to a lead which is manufactured by Boya. So I'm using the Boya BYK4 adapter. Really important. I'm going to put it up here on the screen. Really important, the model number BYK4, because it's a dedicated microphone adapter. It has a female 3.5 jack input to a male USB-C output. Believe me, I tried 4 different adapters. You would think that a female 3.5mm input to a male USB-C output would be the same in all adapters, but believe me, it is not. Now, why do these adapters not all work with quality audio? It's a very simple thing. One is manufactured for headphones as an output, and the other is manufactured for microphones as an input. So I'm using a TRS to TRS, so TRS from my microphone to TRS in my Boya BYK4 adapter, and as you can hear, the quality is very good. So to save time and headaches and possibly money as well, I would quite honestly recommend you going directly for the Boya BYK4 microphone adapter and just omitting that stage of trying to get something cheaper. They're not cheap. The Boya is 22 euros, but believe me, it's worth it because the difference between one and the other is enormous. You can get an audio signal through the cheaper headphone adapters. However, it loses signal as it goes into the camera, and the quality really is not what I need. Now, I spoke about the batteries earlier, the fact that this comes with 3 batteries. These are 1,700 and I think 1,750 milliamps per battery, and DJI says that they will last up to, I believe, 160 minutes. That's depending on the resolution, on the frame rate, on the bit rate, etc. Okay, I have done a test myself, and I got over 2 hours on one battery using 4K at 24 frames per second. So, you know, if I can get up to an hour out of a battery, I'm more than happy with that. The other great thing is that this Action 3 camera also allows you to use an external battery. So you can power your Action 3 using an external battery plugged into your USB-C on the camera, and just it will continue until the camera eventually overheats. Now, talking of overheating, I initially, when I tested the camera before I made this video, I did test the camera, I will be honest, and I did get an overheat once, but I believe it's because I was using 4K at a high frame rate, and also I was using 10-bit, but because I was using the color profile, which is called Cine-like, which is a flatter profile, which you can add LUTs to in the edit. Also, I had my screens turned on. So after a bit of research and watching some videos on YouTube about this issue, I decided that I would configure my camera to turn the screens off after 3 seconds of recording, because apparently the heat dispersion goes towards the screens and the lens. So I haven't had this issue again so far. I'm happy with that. Let's hope it does continue that way. Now, as I mentioned also, on one of my tests, I was using the color profile called Cine-like. There are 2 options on this camera. You can use Cine-like, which is the flatter profile to be able to color in the edit, or you can use the normal profile, the normal color profile, which gives vibrant colors, and which is what I'm using at the moment. I'll just tweak a few wheels in DaVinci Resolve in the edit just to get things the way I want them. Now the camera comes with a plastic mount, a plastic surround, a plastic case if you like. The reason it comes with this plastic surround is for the simple fact that the Action 3 has the option to do vertical or horizontal video. And because we have this magnetic clip-on attachment, the case has the inverse of this or the reverse of this, and therefore you can either clip it to vertical or to horizontal. Unfortunately, it doesn't have any 1/4 inch screws. It doesn't have a cold shoe attachment, and so I invested also in a small rig cage, which is aluminium, helps with heat dispersion, I understand. It has several, 1, 2, so I'm just counting them now. I think it has 3 1/4 inch screw threads, and also has a cold shoe attachment. Now, why did I go for the small rig and not maybe for the Neewer or the Ulanzi? Well, the reason was because the cold shoe is as far as possible to the left, looking at it from behind, to the left, which is as far away as possible from the start button, from the record button. I've seen that the others are further to the middle, which means that if you have an attachment on top, you may have difficulty getting to the record button itself. So this is the reason why I chose the small rig case. So the Action 3 has an HDR function, which is a 10-bit function, and this helps to balance light and dark in the picture. So for example, if you're walking down the street and you have shade on one side and sun on the other, this will balance things out a bit so that they all look more correctly exposed. And the other 10-bit function is the Cine D-like, as I mentioned before, the color profile Cine D-like, which gives a flatter profile for color grading in the edit. Now, another of my requirements for my behind-the-scenes studio camera was that it would have a wide field of view. And in fact, I'm actually using the narrowest at this moment, which is called standard D-warp. Okay. However, there is a wider one and an ultra-wide, which goes to 155 degrees. The standard D-warp is approximately 15mm lens value. The reason I need a wide field of view is because in my behind-the-scenes videos, I'll be taking photos, I'll be adjusting lights, I'll be moving things around, changing backdrops, etc. And I need the camera to be able to give me the view of all of the things which are happening in the studio on the one camera. So let's have a look at the lighting which I have at the moment in the studio. So I have my main light, which is in front of me, just slightly to one side, slightly to my left. This is a 135 watt LED light and using a white umbrella on that. Then just out of shot, there is a 50 watt LED, which is giving a bit of a blue hue to the background, just to light up the background a little bit. And then I have a small Ulanzi portable LED light just on a light stand, just off camera as well, which is just illuminating my hair and my shoulder a little bit there. Now, another of the requirements which I had, and this ties into what I said before about turning off the screens during recording to reduce overheating. One of the things I liked about the Osmo Action 3 was that it has a front screen. In fact, it's a touch screen, which means that you can monitor yourself while you're actually making the video. Having said that, if I turn off the screens to reduce the possibilities of overheating, I can't see. Now, the Action 3 has an excellent app. It's called the DJI Mimo app, and as you can see, I have here the live view on the app, and if I move my hand across, you can see how low the latency is. It's really pretty good. I'm very impressed with it. It creates its own Wi-Fi connection, and so far it hasn't given me any problems. So that is one great thing, because I have it just here on this little table in front of me, but I could also put it on a stand next to the camera to be able to monitor a bit easier like that. Another great thing about this app is that you can control nearly all of the functions of the camera from the app itself. You can turn it on and off, or you can start recording and stop. You can take photos. You can change to the different options, which I'll talk about in a moment. You can change your shutter speed, you can change your resolution, all in the app. Also, you can access the videos and photos which you have taken and which are on the card in the camera. You can access them, you can preview them in a low resolution, obviously to help streaming quicker, and you can also download them directly from your camera through that Wi-Fi connection into your mobile device. You can edit them on the app itself, and then you can upload them to your favorite social media site or send them to a friend on WhatsApp or on Messenger. The app really is very easy to use, and I'm very impressed with it. As you can see, I have here my waveforms. There are also zebras, as you can see here on the reflector over there. The zebra, it's overexposed. So, you know, pretty impressive, the app. Lots of information, very, very happy. I can also see up here my recording levels. I can see the time that I've been recording, etc. So the Action 3, as I said, ticked all the boxes which I needed for my behind-the-scenes studio camera. I didn't know that the Action 4 was coming out. Now, I've only had this camera 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, and 7 days after buying the camera, suddenly there were rumors on the internet about a new Action 4, and a week after that, suddenly the camera was released. Now, the Action 4 does have some better features, but it doesn't tick all my boxes, because it doesn't tick the box on price range. The Action 4 is more expensive than the Action 3. There are reasons for that, obviously, but one of the reasons why I chose the Action 3 over the GoPro Hero 11 Black or the Insta360X3, the reason why I chose the Action 3 was because it was cheaper. It was about 20% cheaper. Now, the new Action 4 has been increased more or less by that 20%. So now the GoPro 11 Hero Black is more or less the same price as the Action 4, the new Action 4. So the Action 4 does have a number of upgrades over the Action 3, the most important being the sensor size, which means that it can give better quality images in low light, so low light performance is better. But having said that, I'm going to be using my Action 3 in a studio environment, basically, which I can control the lights on. If I find that I need a bit more light to keep my settings the way I want them, then I can increase the light. And outside during the day, neither of those cameras, either the Action 3 or the Action 4, have problems, because they both offer super high quality in normal lighting conditions. At this moment, as I said before, I'm recording at 4K 24 frames per second. Now, the lens itself is obviously a fixed lens, so even though we can shoot in manual, we can't change the f-stop of the lens. But because the lens on the Action 3 is at an f2.8, well, that's pretty good, that's pretty open, it allows a lot of light in, and that means that we can keep our shutter speed the way it should be, which is double the frame rate. So my frame rate is 24 frames per second. So I have my shutter speed at 1/50. And then obviously I want to keep my ISO as low as possible. Now, with the lighting that I have now, and with this 135 watt LED camera in front of me on just 50% of power, the camera is giving me an ISO of 360. Now, 360 on the Action 3 gives a good quality picture. As you can see, there is no noise due to the ISO, so I'm happy with that. If I find that for some reason I start to get some noise, then I can just increase the light, which will then reduce my ISO. Okay, so the reasons that I bought the camera: quality video at 4K, being able to change my frame rates the way I want to, being able to use an external third-party microphone, good battery life, and the possibility of using an external battery to power the camera as well. Wide field of view to be able to get all of my small home studio into one shot. The price, which for me was also an important factor. The price of the Action 3 was very good, and with the Adventure Combo, I think the total was 459 euros, which was within my budget. The fact that it came with the 3 batteries and the battery charging case and this incredibly long 1.5 meter selfie stick. Something I love about this camera is the magnetic attachment, which is not just magnetic, it has 2 clips here which need to be pushed in together to be able to release it, but it is a very quick release system and very, very useful. So those were the important factors for me in deciding to buy the Action 3, the Osmo Action 3, for my behind-the-scenes studio camera. But another one of my requirements, and this was something which I added, was that I didn't want my camera just to be sitting on a tripod waiting for me to make my next video. I wanted something which I would be able to take out of the small home studio and use in different situations. Now, this camera is so compact. It's so easy to carry with you. And in fact, before I made this first video in my studio, I was lucky enough to have a few days break. I went off to the beach and I tested out some of the features of the camera. Now, bear in mind that everything in the Action 3, the Action 4 also has Plus. So the information which I'm giving to you now about the Action 3 can also be applied to the Action 4. But the Action 4 has other features as well. So some of the things that I tested were the time-lapse, which you can either use automatically or you can set yourself. The hyperlapse, which is similar to time-lapse, but it's for time-lapse in motion. Again, you can set, I believe it's from 2 times speed up to 30 times speed, which is absolutely amazing. You can walk about recording everything in front of you for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, and it will be played back in a number of seconds at very, very fast rate. Really high quality, and it can be used in 4K as well. So that is a very interesting feature. Another one of the features which I wanted to try out was the slow motion, because slow motion video is always good for B-roll, for adding to your YouTube videos. So being able to record quality slow-mo video was another important point for me. Now, the Osmo Action 3 offers 4K at 120 frames per second, which is, well, just crazy. Eh? So you can either record in a 4K at 120 frames per second, or you can go into the slow-mo function and choose the 4 times slow-mo, which is, if you work it out, 30, 60, 90, 120. So in both cases, you're doing 4K at 120 frames per second. And the final thing that I wanted to test was underwater recording. Now, DJI state that this camera can be used with no waterproof housing case down to a distance of 16 meters. Now, believe me, I am never going to go down to 16 meters depth in the sea or in the water. However, I did want to try it out at the beach, and as you can see in this video, it worked perfectly. The colors are great and it's very clear, and it continued working underwater. I believe I was underwater with the camera, well, not myself, but the camera itself was underwater for maybe 7 or 8 minutes, even more possibly. and no water leaked into the camera at all. When I got back to my hotel, I rinsed it off with clear tap water and dried it all off on its outside. And as you can see, the camera is still working now. So until this moment, the underwater function has worked correctly. So what are my thoughts about the Osmo Action 3? Well, number one, as I said, I did have an initial overheating problem, which seems to have disappeared, because until recently, even expensive mirrorless cameras were overheating in 4K. Well, from the use which I've given it so far, I think it is an absolutely superb camera. With all the functions it offers, with the software that it comes with, the app and the menus within the camera, the automatic functions which you can use, and the manual functions as well. The high frame rate, the possibility to record in 10-bit. This camera has it all. Am I upset that I didn't know the Action 4 was coming out and bought the Action 3 instead? Yes and no. Upset because we always want to have the latest things, but quite honestly, this Action 3 has all the features which I think I'm going to need from the camera, not only in my small home studio, but also out of it. And eventually, I will probably move on to the Osmo Action 4 or the Osmo Action 5 when it comes out. But for now, I'm really happy with it for everything that I need. DJI offer an insurance plan for their cameras. It's called DJI Care Refresh, and for a small amount you can contract either a 1-year or 2-year insurance policy with them, and if your camera is damaged by water or by accident, you can return it to DJI and they will send you a substitute camera for a small amount. So I'm not going to talk about how much the plan costs or how much the replacements cost, because these are things which constantly change. However, I will say that I did take the 2-year plan. So hopefully I'm not going to need to use it, but it's there just in case. So if you liked this video, please click on the like button, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell to be informed when a new video drops on my channel. Until the next time, this is Andy signing off. Take care and be safe.